would you please put your masks on? And if you don't have any, we have some right here. Thank you.
I'm sure everyone's here to do their job tonight, so I guess I'll do mine as a parent and stay in this meeting, so I'll do the handouts.
Wow.
Your Highnesses.
There's no respect. That's not respect.
Get more? Do you need some more? Sure.
I hope I'm like yelling.
Thank you.
Oh, Phyllis here.
Here comes Mr. Day. Sit up for a minute. Chairs, or how are we going to do this? We don't care.
Now you're in the front row.
Hi, Bill.
Two more minutes.
You related to Rivet? I'm sure that my husband is related to Rivet. So funny. That's what my son said. I know. It's like, okay, that makes sense. Hey, my son. Okay. There's different generations. Like, every single one of them, it's like parents, kids, so he's old. Yeah, he's a 10th grader. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Ryan, you have 1 and 2.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to reconvene open session. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Also, during tonight's silent meditation, let's take a moment to remember Sheila Grover, who passed away on October 27th. As a member of the Charahoe School Committee, Sheila will be remembered as a strong advocate for the Charahoe children and their families. Her positive spirit will be missed by all. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
I recommend that minutes pertaining to collective bargaining, NEA, ESP negotiation update remain sealed until such time as agreement has been reached.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to seal the executive session minutes of the collective bargaining NEA ESP negotiation update to remain sealed until such time as an agreement has been reached. Any discussion? Those in favor? Any opposed? Abstentions? Mr. Day, recusal. I was getting there. Thank you.
I recommend that minutes pertaining to collective bargaining, NEA certified staff contract negotiations remain sealed until such time as an agreement has been reached.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to recommend the minutes pertaining to collective bargaining, NEA certified staff contract negotiations remain sealed until such time as an agreement has been reached. Any discussion on those minutes? Those in favor? Any opposed? Abstentions? 1, 2 abstentions. Recusals. 1 recusal. Thank you.
I recommend that minutes which relate to the privacy of students and their records, approval of home instruction requests remain sealed.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion by Mr. Luzon and a second by Dr. Callahan that the minutes relating to the privacy of students, their records, home approval instruction remain sealed. Any discussion? Those in favor? Opposition? Abstentions or recusal? That was unanimous. Oh, good, Mr. Day, sorry. I got you. Catherine,
Yes.
thank you.
We had 7 votes in executive session. The first was to move sections 2 and 3 to the end. In favor, Abbott, Callahan, Chambers, Juicy, Luzon, Lyle, Macaruso, McAllister, Spears, and Reynolds. The next vote was executive session minutes of October 26th, NEA ESP negotiation update. Abstaining, Abbott, approved by Callahan, Chambers, Juicy, Luzon, Lyle, Macaruso, McAllister, Spears, and Reynolds. The next vote was executive session minutes, homeschool instruction, October 26th, 2021. Abstaining, Abbott. In favor, Callahan, Chambers, Juicy, Luzon, Lyle, Macaruso, McAllister, Spears, and Reynolds. The next vote was home instruction request from this evening, November 9th. In favor, Abbott, Callahan, Chambers, Juicy, Luzon, Lyle, Macaruso, McAllister, Reynolds, and Spears. The next vote, creation of negotiation subcommittee. In favor, Abbott, Callahan, Chambers, Juicy, Lyle, Macaruso, McAllister, and Spears. The next vote was addition of a Hopkinton member to the negotiation subcommittee. In favor, Abbott, Callahan, Chambers, Juicy, Lyle, Macaruso, McAllister, and Spears. And finally, to return to open session. In favor, Abbott, Callahan, Chambers, Juicy, Lyle, Macaruso, McAllister, and Spears. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please join me in congratulating the following: Charlestown School Teacher Assistant Cheryl Ali, October Employee of the Month. And our new school committee members, and Donna Spears from Hopkinton. And Karen Reynolds from Richmond.
Welcome. We are now on to public forum. This is the time where the public has a chance to speak on items that are not on the agenda. I would ask that you keep your comments brief. There are a lot of people here, so we want to be able to hear from everyone. Vice Chairperson Ms. Giusti will be helping us, remind us of our time. We're going to keep the comments to 2 minutes, and then hopefully we can get everyone an opportunity to speak. When you come to the podium, please introduce yourself and where you're from. Sir?
Scott Bill Hurst, Hopkins and Terre class of 71. I'd like to take this time to challenge you, Madam Chairman and Vice Chairman Giusti, on behalf of Pastor David Stahl and myself, to debate on Terre is listening, to discuss Terre matters, education in general, and events dealing with the Terre School District. And I make that challenge publicly. Also, I'd like to suggest there's one email address for school committee members. In the town of Hopkinton, we have one email address to reach all town council members. There's no reason for Charahoe not to have that situation for the people in our district to reach all members at once. I would appreciate if the school committee starts taking some more public officials, more taking official position, and also, look at their agenda policy where, the chairman cannot block routinely, request things on the agenda. And I would suggest that a certain number, like 2 or 3 members of the school committee, if they feel that something should be on the agenda, the chairman shouldn't be able to block that. There are other government bodies that have a certain requirement of request for consideration. There's no reason that the Charahoe School Committee could not operate the same way. Also, I would like to, before I sit down, I would hope that the school committee will adopt a policy about employees using school district email to promote a candidate for public office, either elected or appointed, because I do have a concern about politics in the school district. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Phyllis Penhollow. I'm from Charlestown. I'd like this committee to revisit the 2 policy changes that they made concerning the library media and the curriculum. The decision is that all taxpayers don't have a say. You have to have a child in the district to be able to follow the procedure if you have a concern about the curriculum. So I have one question I'd love to get answered tonight, and I have 4 points to make about this. The first point I'd like to make is that you excluded an entire group of taxpayers, older people who have wisdom, ex-teachers, grandparents, teachers. Some of you couldn't even use the policy because you don't have children in the district. You have educators who might have more time that can contribute. There's homeschoolers. So all that wisdom is completely taken away because you're saying you have to have a child in the district. Secondly, the superintendent last 2 weeks ago said that this came from legal. I don't even know what that means. It came from legal. So whatever legal says, we do. There was no meeting. There's no discussion. Just legal said something and then it was just done. The third point I want to make is that what has changed that now there's such a worry about these voices that you're going to exclude this whole group? So something has changed and now there must be worry that you want to just tell this group they don't have a say. The fourth thing is if there's a lot of people who are concerned with something that in the curriculum, wouldn't the administration say, hey, wait, maybe there's something going on. Maybe I should look at it. But no one thought of that. It's just, no, just quiet the voice and maybe there is something that we should be looking at. The one question I would like to get answered is how many taxpayers have used this procedure to question curriculum or the library media in, let's say, the last 5 years, and how many hours has taxed teachers at administration that you would actually make a rule that this whole group can't speak? So was it 3? Was it 15? Was it 40?
We couldn't answer that tonight, but we might be able to get that.
So how could you
information.
not answer and vote? So so there was a vote taken and no one even knows how many people.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm here for my name's Goldie Williams
Goldie.
from Richmond.
From
I'm
Richmond.
here for the kids who are in that CALA program and are getting bullied on a daily basis, like my son was when it was RISE. I'm here so they don't get pushed out before they are ready. They should have a program like they have at Ledyard, Connecticut High School, that they're able to graduate. Then they have a one-on-one aid for work, preparedness, taking them to work or taking them to college. They should make sure that every child gets transitioned to work and to college. And they have one-on-one aid until they are ready and not anxious to go, like my son. The first time around, he never got transitioned. He never got prepared. He flunked the first time around. Now he's on a second time around, and he made the dean's list last semester because it was online, and now he's going to make it for a paralegal because he's prepared. We had to pay tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands outside where Charahoe never gave him the services he needed. And I think this should be in the special needs category. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
also, you shouldn't be teaching gender queer because it's porn, the book. Thank you.
Dave Stahl, Ashaway. I brought my sign up because a lot of folks here have signs and they can't be seen by the people at home. There are 45 to 50 people gathered here tonight because they're concerned about these issues and being taxed without representation. And the general consensus of the group of people that are gathered here tonight is that you as a committee and as administration are not listening. So we will continue to rally in an effort to be heard. I, like Phyllis, would ask you to revisit two policies. Several months ago, you voted on the change to the curriculum policy, making it so that only a parent of someone currently in the school could object to curriculum. That is taxation without representation. I don't think it's legal, and I don't think it's ethical, and I don't think it's good. Last meeting, you made that same wording change to the library and media policy. So I am asking, we are asking, and will continue to ask for you to bring back those two policies and change that wording back to the way it was so that any stakeholder in the community can object to a piece of curriculum. I would also like to add my condolences to Sheila Grover's family. Sheila, during the brief time that we overlapped on the committee, I found her to be really reasonable and really objective and really listen. And if you know anything, if you've listened to me at all, you know how much I value that. And I appreciated Sheila for that, and I offer my condolences to her family. The last thing I'd say is that I came last meeting and I spoke here to you, and a few folks here on this committee responded not to the issue, not with points regarding the policies I was asking questions about, but with personal attacks. Attacks about my job, misquoting me, saying I'm trying to do things I'm not, or banning books when I'm not. If you want to create a culture where people listen, personal attacks against people when they bring objective issues would go a long way there.
My name is Joe Moreau. I live on Old Depot Road in Hopkinton, Rhode Island. I've lived there for about 21 years. I was recently elected the Director of Public Welfare for Hopkinton. I moved here along with my wife from Coventry, and that's where I first met the late Barry Ritchie, and I've had several conversations with Barry. I think Barry would be very disturbed at what's happening here. In the town of Hopkinton, for an example, our operating budget for expenses is about 27 million. The education portion is about 20 million. So rounding that off, it's about 74% of our budget goes to education. As I said, being the Director of Public Welfare, I'm constantly on the phone with clients that are having a difficult time putting food on their table, paying their utility bills. Myself as a senior citizen, what I would suggest, if 74% of our funding is going towards education, then I should pay 26% in my property tax. If I can't have a say in what's going on in this building or in our school system, my wife and I have been heavily involved in the Coventry system for many years. We still have friends from that district. And I just don't understand, David already mentioned the taxation without representation. Why should I pay the taxes that I pay? And 74% comes here. And I can't come before you with a question or an issue because I don't have a child in the school system. That's really disgraceful. It really is. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jim Sullivan. I'm a resident of Charlestown and a concerned citizen. I have comments that have been typed up for me by my wonderful neighbor, Erica Wilkinson, and I will distribute them to whoever would like them after I have what I have to say. They're my comments in bullet form. Anyway, here it is. I've been an educator for 35 years. I've been a teacher, I've been a school administrator, and I've been on the school committee. And right now, we have the silent majority is now a vocal majority, and that is a great thing happening. Students should be taught a person should be judged by the content of their character and not the color of their skin. We should all agree to that. Just because a person is smart does not mean they have common sense. I do not support, at this point, the Anti-Racism Task Force. I am concerned about their bringing racism into the Charahoe system. There are curriculum development materials on CRT everywhere in this country. Let's keep them out of Charahoe. It is a divisive doctrine. Racism is not embedded in our legal systems and policies of the United States. Many state legislatures have supported outlawing CRT in schools, Idaho, Iowa, Oklahoma, Tennessee, to name a few. Reviewing teachers' curriculum in the school system is not enough. Parents should talk to their children when they come home and ask what the teachers have been teaching them.
Excuse me, Mr. Sullivan, your 2 minutes is up.
Please.
Your 2 minutes is up if you just want to finish your thought.
Can he have my 2 minutes so he can finish reading? Please, I'll stand.
My time is up already?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I can finish reading it for
If
you if you'd like.
I'm going to leave that to you, Jerry.
I don't think that's necessary. This is going to be, I'm
We
just,
do have it in writing, sir, so we do have it.
we should ask principals, teachers, and school committee members whether they support critical race theory or not. And they should be told strongly that this is not acceptable. CRT is destructive and rejects the fundamental ideas on which the Constitution of the United States is based. As far as sovereignty is concerned, we have the right to be free of question and make decisions concerning our students in education in the school system. And we are not domestic terrorists.
I don't think we've.
Finally, I respectfully request that school committee give more time to people like myself and others. 5 minutes would be nice, to the Charahoe community to make particular comments during the committee meetings. God bless America and Charahoe school system. Hey, thank you very much.
Now you don't have to hear from me tonight.
How you doing? I feel sick tonight.
Excuse me, sir.
I feel sick not because I'm ill.
Could you please tell us your name?
My name is Jeremy Palmer.
Mr. Palmer?
I
where are
feel
you-
sick tonight because of the lack of respect that's given by this board, for one. I'm glad everyone is partially paying attention to what everyone here who pays your paycheck has to say to you. I also have a headache from listening to my community members speak without being heard, because I feel like the majority of the people who would be attending this meeting tonight wouldn't be here if you guys were doing your job correctly. On top of that, I completely disagree with the curriculum that's being taught to our children, which is obvious by the amount of people who are here and in general assembly throughout the internet. I definitely feel like there should be a different format, because there's no way anyone could possibly put together and then formulate an idea within 2 minutes, but yet we're gathered here to listen to what you all have to say to us. I feel like at certain points we may need an interpreter to distinguish what you all are saying throughout this meeting, because everyone just raises their hand and puts their hand down and you guys just speak a completely different language. Why? I would assume to throw everyone off topic. So there isn't a common understanding. Don't look around in surprise because no one understands what you guys are saying the majority of the time. You just mumble into a mic and then everyone raises their hand and says, yep, I agree, when no one here has any idea what you're saying. So the suggestion that I would make, again, for everyone who's not paying attention at this point, still everyone's too busy writing their notes down. I would assume not what I'm saying, but your own agendas. A combative one, because if you were paying attention, like this is the first time you looked up at me, man.
I have to take minutes.
Well,
excuse
now
me.
you're not allowed to interject. Remember, you're not allowed to answer people.
Let's keep
You're
this.
attacking me.
I'm not attacking anyone. I'm stating the obvious.
you're-
And what the obvious is that your community directly does not agree with what you're saying. My 2 minutes is up. Let me guess. Thank you. Again, I would say that you would correct the format because there are some people who are more articulate in the room and others who are not. So
Thank
half
you,
an
sir.
hour is not enough time for everyone to formulate an idea in 2 minutes. Enjoy your day.
Linda, can
Thank
you
you.
please clarify what my role is? Please clarify what my role is.
Okay, let's all be respectful here. Um, Donna is not one of our school committee members. She's our associate secretary, administrative assistant. So, and her job is to take notes, copious notes. So there was no need for that. Excuse me, excuse me, it's not your turn. You can, I just need to keep this meeting respectful. Excuse me. Okay, enough.
I'm sorry, your name, ma'am?
Hi,
Hi.
Jennifer Purcell. I'm raising 2 children in the district. I had watched the meeting, last meeting. It was rainy night, really windy. I watched from home. So I'm not sure what prompted the policy to be revised, but from the woman stating that she had a list of 30 books she finds questionable, I'm curious if what prompted the revision was an inundation of requests. Also, I believe that Mr. Anderson provides legal advice for other districts, so maybe that suggested preemptive action based on his experiences in the other districts. As you may be aware, there's been increased scrutiny placed on schools and especially school boards as part of a nationwide movement, which we see a lot of evidence of tonight. I certainly agree that all stakeholders deserve representation, but I also understand giving parents of students using the library priority in this instance. The library plays a supportive role in the school system by providing students a wide range of materials to choose from, with emphasis on the concept of choice. I think we should be cautious when it comes to a decision that would strip students of their own choice in regards to what materials are available to them. I think it's also important to remember that the students are the one in this equation who are most impacted by this decision, and they do not pay any taxes. I absolutely understand the importance of discussing these issues in regards to taxpayers, since our public schools receive funding from our property taxes. But I don't want to forget about the students by narrowing our focus to taxpayers only. We must help students understand that their choices deserve respect too. That being said, I can understand how this issue would upset residents in our district. I do believe that the policy before revision did hold some protection against a sudden increase in requests, because the form suggests that the person questioning the materials should have read or viewed the media in entirety and also answered numerous self-reflective questions. These questions alone could have reduced an overburden. I'd also like to point out,
Jess, that's your 2 minutes.
so it takes nuance and context to understand the work of the school committee and what they do to balance the concerns of community members, parents, guardians, teachers, staff, administration, and students. In the instance of this policy revision, the committee recognized their greatest concern, as written in the principles and ethics, which is for the educational welfare of the students.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
No, she had her 2 minutes.
Could,
I understand. I'm sorry. Yep.
well, I'm sorry, what's going on?
Caleb was
Oh, I
gonna give.
just, I was just hopping up so she could finish, like, I'm trying to remember your name, but the lady hopped up so that, the gentleman was
Okay.
speaking.
Okay.
I don't know if there was, yeah, Paula, right? Yeah.
Me?
Yes, I was like, I think that's Polly, I'm not sure.
Why, did you want me to read some Lawn Boy for you?
No.
Because I got it right here, I got a picture.
I wanted to speak I don't want to cut anybody.
Excuse me, sir, if you want it, let's move it on. Okay.
If it's rolling, I think I have like 30 seconds.
No, you have 2 minutes. Please identify yourself and speak.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry about the chaos.
That's okay.
Name is Caleb Grant. I'm from Hope Valley. And in general, I find myself trying to walk a middle road. I do believe there are misunderstood intentions on both sides of the issue. And I do agree with people on both just, I'm trying to remember the gentleman who was speaking before, spoke about the format being really not conducive to communication. So I guess that's my 2 cents. I know I already took up time with the confusion here, but I do think unless we have more transparency and more communication and listening, then the heat's just going to stay on high and it's just going to get worse. And I care about these people. I care about people on the left and the right. And I just think as a community, we need something better to work through this stuff and work all together. So thank you.
Good evening. My name is, Tyler Champlin from Hopkinton. For the past 6 months, I've sat in this room and listened to everything being said by both parents, concerned citizens of this district, and by you, our elected school committee members. I've truly sat here and listened. I've listened to all sides. I find myself to be a lot like Caleb. I like to hear everybody and everybody's opinion. I try to keep an open mind, something which I question of the members sitting on the other side of the table in front of me. We push diversity, inclusion, and equity in our schools, which I believe has value in a place, but only if it applies to everyone. I've been unbelievably disappointed to watch and listen to members of this audience be disparaged and attacked because they have a differing view than that of the members of this committee. Just because a person sees something in a different light doesn't make them right or wrong, or make you right or wrong. The only thing that is wrong is to dismiss their concerns without listening to them with an open mind. That is something that has been lost here in this room and around our country. We've lost the ability to compromise. I believe at times we confuse the common ground with compromise. With issues that I've heard coming out of the school committee, there may be at times not any common ground to be found. However, with good constructive criticism, there may likely be a place to find a compromise. Compromise doesn't mean you get what you want or I get what I want. We both give up something to work toward a solution that is good for all. That has not been what I've seen or heard. I've heard calls from parents to have open town hall style meetings with our school committee to allow us to interact with you guys, to ask questions and truly understand your position on issues facing our district, as well as our views. People in this district want to be involved, but they're not being given the opportunity. And they're now being silenced by policies that have been changed, which disenfranchises a certain population of this district. I am now one of those people. My kids were pulled from this district and are now being homeschooled by my wife. At the beginning of this, Now, on top of that, the funding that comes from our town to our kids was also pulled from your district. At this point, it's the only thing we have. 76% of my tax dollars funds this public school district. As a concerned citizen, you should know where your taxpayers are being sent. We have a voice, and we will be heard. Come June of 2022, some of us will be declaring for your seats. Thank you.
Yes, I'm Bill Day. I'm speaking as a citizen and not a member of the school committee. I've been around school district meetings since the Andreotti days, which I don't know, there's not too many people in here who know who Superintendent Andreotti is, but this is, to me, the wrong battle to be fighting. We have probably, the only time we ever had this many people attending school committee meetings is over a budget. This district wants to pass a budget. And by approving policies that shut out the voice of the taxpayers is not any way to get a budget passed. So I would hope that the school committee would rethink some of the things that they've been doing here lately to stifle the citizens and the taxpayers of this district would change quickly.
Well, thank you. That ends public forum. Oh, sorry.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Sylvia. I'm a resident of Hopkinton. I also agree with revisiting the policy issues, but I also want to ask that the school committee maybe think about revisiting or visiting cancellation policy of school. I think what happened on October 25th was absolutely horrendous. You guys put our students in danger, and you put the people driving the buses in danger. Both my parents are school bus drivers, and on my mom's route, because she was en route picking up kids, there were 3 downed trees. She was near James Trail in Richmond. One tree was completely blocking the road. She had to stop her bus, and there was a 5th grader on the bus who went up. He got out of his seat and he's like, "Let me at it. Let me out. I'll go move that tree." And the whole bus kept screaming on the route, "We're gonna die. We're gonna die." So what you did, Miss Picard, by calling school off so late in the day was awful. Absolutely shameful. And if you're going to make a decision to close school, it needs to happen before the kids get picked up and put on the bus. That was just completely uncalled for, and I don't want that to get not addressed, because it just should not happen. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Kim Coulter, and I too went to Charahoe School System and graduated from here. I'm a resident of the town of Charlestown, and I'm appalled at what I've been seeing. I've been to a couple of the meetings so far. I have been following it from home from your Zoom meetings, and I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for my town of Charlestown representatives that sit on this board. And now you've made policies that those of us that don't have children in the system now can't speak. If we can't speak, you do not need our finances. In this day and age where the monies are very tight, we don't know what the new administration is going to bring about, and I'm going to pay for something that I can't speak on? None of these people here can speak on? Are you crazy? That's not right. Has anybody ever heard it takes a village to raise a child? And has anybody watched advertisements on TV? Bullying. If you're being bullied, you come see us. What the heck do you think you people are doing to the parents and residents of these 3 towns? You are elected here. You are elected officials. You work for us. And I am sick and tired of us. And these people have to come down here and be watchdogs. They're our children, not yours. Have your own children and raise them how you want. But I'll be damned if you're going to raise mine. Reading, writing, and arithmetic. And at the last meeting, I believe that it was you, Donna Chambers, that said if anybody here doesn't have a child in the system and we got an issue, we can come talk to you. What are the odds? And I'm a betting person. I do like betting on the ponies. What are the odds those questions are going to see the light of day? Just tell me. And how many here have children? Who has children in the system now? But yet you can dictate to us? I'm sorry, but this is wrong. You need to revisit those policies, or you don't need our money.
Yeah, this is the last, sir. Excuse me, sir. I'm
Yes.
sorry for interrupting. This will be you'll be the last speaker tonight.
Understand,
Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, school
Excuse
committee.
me, we can't hear the gentleman speaking.
I can't speak this thing on. Good evening, school committee. My name is Michael Geary.
live at 16 Tomahawk Road, Hopkinton, Rhode Island. Also, my daughter is alumni of Charahoe High School, where she graduated 2012. I'm also a member of the Hopkinton Town Council. I am not here to speak on behalf of the Hopkinton Town Council or my fellow colleagues. However, I do wish to speak on behalf of the numerous residents that have reached out to me via email, phone calls about the policy change that went into effect October 16th. I find this deeply concerning, excuse me, deeply concerning that the school committee would vote on a policy to limit residents participating in school committee meetings. With 75 to 80% of our tax dollars going to the education system, every taxpayer in the district deserves the respect to join the conversation regardless of whether they currently have children enrolled in the school or not. The school district is an essential part of the community. Therefore, citizens should be allowed to engage in ongoing discussions. Madam Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
I move that we suspend the rules to allow more people to speak.
Well, Mr. Abbott made a motion. Is there, and Mr. Day seconded it? Any discussion on that? Those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? Thank you. Thank you. We have business to attend to, school committee business to attend to. So I appreciate you giving us the time to do that.
Did the motion pass?
No, the motion did not pass.
What was the vote?
We voted.
So everybody rejects if they don't care. Business.
We get, you're welcome to stay. We have business to conduct.
Amy, it's over.
Done? I can.
Form's over.
No, they're leaving.
Oh, it's on the YouTube video.
Yeah, that's true. So just a comment before we move on to business. Just for public knowledge and just so that you guys are aware, the district does have an appeals policy that any citizen can make. I am.
Just, it's
Those people.
important to listen.
No, I'm just saying that there is, in community relations, there is an appeals policy that any person, any citizen can appeal any issue, question that they choose. I just wanted to make people aware that this is in our policy, so people do have a voice. Anyone can use this appeals policy. Thank you very much. I tried. Yeah, let's move on. Okay, we're on to business.
Special Education Advisory Committee, 2020-2021 Annual Report. I recommend that you accept.
Madam Chair, I can't hear right now.
Okay, we can wait then. Do we want to take a 5-minute break? No? Motion to recess for 5 minutes?
I would like to recess.
Okay, so there's been a motion to recess for 5 minutes. Donna seconded. Those in favor? Okay, we'll recess for 5 minutes. Yes, it was. Well, no, I don't know. Mr. Day didn't.
Bill, did you vote? Bill, did you vote?
Oh, come on, guys.
Bill, did you vote?
Come on.
Bill, did you vote?
We're
Did
gonna,
you vote on that? Oh,
okay.
okay, but I need to get it accurate. I can't get it accurate if I don't know.
Thank you very much.
And then I'll be sued, and I'm not gonna be sued.
Wow.
Okay, I need to go to the ladies' room.
That could be, I'll go with you, because I need to break too.
Gina, these are battles that we don't need.
It's 48. No, I know. No, okay, I'll wait. Okay, let's get back to regular session. Thank you. You ready, Donna?
Yeah, I'm
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Superintendent Picard?
Okay. Item A is Special Education Advisory Committee 2020-2021 Annual Report. I recommend that you accept the SEAC 2020-2021 Annual Report and place it on file. Thanks to committee members Polly Hopkins, Nicole Allen, Erin Safranak, and Sarah Algeri for all their work this past year.
So moved. Second.
There's been a motion and a second to accept the Special Education Advisory Committee Annual Report. I open this up to discussion or questions. Yes, Donna?
Yeah, before we accept these minutes from the last meeting, I would like to suggest that the goals be reworded because I don't see them as, a lot of them as goals. It's a process, like to explore ways to make it easier for parents to access. Well, what's the goal? Okay, and so I would like it better defined in terms of the goals of what they're doing to get to it. I highlighted 3, 4, 5, and 6. And question what the goal of those items are. So if that could be revised, I'm sure the committee they know what they're trying to get to, what they want to achieve. So that's my comment on that.
Pass that along.
Okay.
Feedback.
Okay?
Okay.
All right.
So do we still vote on it or do we table it?
And I certainly appreciate their efforts.
Ms. Chambers, do
Make a
you,
motion with the
you want to make a motion with the changes?
I would like to make a motion that the items 3, 4, and 5, and 6 be stated in terms of actual goals.
So you're amending them.
Yeah,
I'm
amending the motion.
Before I could vote for this, to accept these minutes.
Okay. So, yes.
If we don't have their goals in this though, can we go on actually?
That's my question. So,
I'm sorry, yeah.
so basically, do we want to vote on the notion that they will amend it, or do you want to table it? Yes, Ms. Macruso?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. We have to use the microphones, I think.
Yes.
Linda. So I was in attendance as the liaison to the SEAC meeting, and they've actually changed leadership. So the person that was the chair at this time is no longer the chair, which was
Okay.
Ms. Hopkins. There was some procedural challenges running the meeting and coming back after the pandemic. So what I might suggest, I don't know if this would be amenable, Donna, is that when I attend the next meeting, I could advise the new chair as to how to write SMART goals, if that's a good format, and give them your feedback. Therefore, we can accept this, and I'll go on record as saying I'll give them that feedback as well.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
I'm fine with that, and I
Okay.
appreciate that suggestion, but please pass that on.
I will
Okay,
do.
thank you.
Yeah, so you'll
We'll accept these with the understanding that when we see more minutes be reintroduced, that they would have specific goals identified.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Luzon?
Well, that
Right.
is, my discussion's moved.
I know, are you pulling your
Are you pulling your-
yeah, are you pulling your motion?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am.
Okay, you're pulling the amendment. Okay, so we're back to the original motion to accept the minutes and the annual report as filed.
Okay.
Okay. Any more discussion or questions? Those in favor? Okay. Any opposition? No. Recusals or abstentions? No, I think that's unanimous. Thank you so much. And thank you for all the work that the advisory committee
Yeah.
has done over the years.
The next item is Girls Ice Hockey Co-op request. It is a memorandum of agreement with Warwick. A 2-year agreement is being proposed for a girls ice hockey co-op to include our high school, Pilgrim, and Tollgate. Charahoe would pay based on the total number of girls that join the team and participate. If there are 20 total players of the team and Charahoe has 3 athletes that participate, then we would pay 3/20 percentage of the fees for the following: coaches' salaries for 3 coaches and officials' fees for games. Estimated cost will be around $2,000 for us. There would be no transportation costs, as parents would be responsible to provide their own transportation for their child to and from Thayer Arena, where there are team practices, where they play their home games, and where they go for away games. Parents, guardians will need to sign a waiver, releasing Charahoe from any liability in regards to transportation. We would also not pay for ice time at Thayer Arena. We would, however, pay for uniform patches that would be installed on the uniforms to designate Charahoe as a member of the co-op. Enclosed is a copy of the parental agreement, which does mirror the boys' ice hockey agreement with Narragansett. I also would like to note that this is contingent upon the Warwick School Committee, which moved their meeting till next week. They originally had plans with their different district who had backed out and would like a commitment moving forward from the new district prior to them making a decision. It is contingent upon their vote. I recommend approval of the MOA with Warwick for a 2-year agreement for a girls' ice hockey co-op. And once the Warwick School Committee approves or votes on this MOA, we would move forward as signed. And we do have Mr. Provencher from
So moved.
if there's questions.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve this MOA, the Memorandum of Agreement with Warwick, to have a co-op program in the girls' ice hockey. Mr. Day, you have a question or a comment?
I was just curious as to, you have a ballpark figure of how many girls might be interested in participating in this, or?
I believe we have definitely one. Jim?
We have 3 people that have expressed interest. I think we have a solid at least 2 players, and maybe a 4th, maybe interested. She has not come forward.
So at least 2, possibly up to 4.
2 to 4 players.
I think Jim knows probably is the biggest supporter of athletics over here in the history of Charahoe, so I'm not against it, but I just, it's a 2-year agreement.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
It's a
Thank
2-year
you.
agreement. What happens if for some reason they find the girls that are participating find out it's too cumbersome or too time consuming to go back and forth to Warwick? Would we still be obligated to make a contribution to the team, even if we
It
didn't
would
have
be
any
based on the
girls?
number of players that participate.
So if we don't have any, if the girls for some reason decide it's too far to travel, we wouldn't be on the hook for anything.
That's my understanding, but I can clarify.
Is that good? Okay, Mr. Luzon?
Can I address Mr. Provencher? Evidently, he has the
Oh,
information.
Jim, could you come to the microphone? Thank you.
So Jim, what numbers are they looking for? Possibly 3 we may have, but what do they, I mean, to have a co-op means they need bodies.
No.
Well, no, they're with another school too. So I'm under the impression, speaking with Mike today, that, you folks can vote to agree to have our girls participate, whether it be 2, 3, or 4. But they may say, we don't need another co-op and vote it down, and our girls still wouldn't be able to play. So.
And I can provide some context. So we've had some parents reach out with specifically one who was interested in the co-op. A co-op has not been available to us for girls ice hockey. And there's all kinds of rules that come into play. One opened up because the district backed out. So Mike knew that we had a parent who continued to ask and just scholastically reached out to Mike, knowing that there's been a request to join a co-op if one comes available. Now that it's available, we're asking Warwick, based on feedback from the parent that would like his daughter to play on this on a girls ice hockey team, to allow us to participate with them.
Which I understand all this, but for a school system to reach out to other school systems to create a co-op team means they don't have the bodies in the first place to fill their needs, to field a team per se. I'm just asking, I mean, are they looking?
Well, one school dropped out, so it created a void for us.
This ain't Tollgate and Pilgrim here.
Correct.
So.
So a 3rd school dropped out. Tollgate
Correct.
and Pilgrim are still in. The 3rd school dropped out.
I just want to make sure 3 is going to be suffice. That's all. I agree with.
Well, I
Bill's
mean, they
saying.
had 3 in the previous years, so I don't think they would be looking for more schools to co-op.
No, I'm not. I'm talking 3 bodies, not 3
Oh.
schools.
Mike said we have 2 to 4 bodies, so.
Okay.
Thank you. Lisa?
So I suggest that we support the motion based on gender equity. So we've had the boys ice hockey co-op with Narragansett for, I think, almost 4 years. it could be a little less than that. And as Superintendent Picard pointed out, this policy
Title IX.
has parity with that policy.
Mhm.
And so whether it's 1 or 3, I think at this point, we really need to support it just as a matter of Title IX and gender
Title
equity,
IX.
and also the opportunities that it'll give our female students who want to apply. So I will be voting in favor of.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? No? Okay, thank you. I will take that to a vote. Those in favor of the memorandum of agreement with Warwick to have a co-op ice hockey program for girls? Thank you. Anyone opposed? Abstentions or recusals? That was unanimous. Thank you very much. Thank you for the information.
The next item is the Rhode Island Comprehensive Assessment System, also known as RICAS, and these are our state assessment results that were released last week, October 28th, I believe. So Dr. Camella has a presentation. It was also in your packets, and he will review the current assessment results. And I believe it's coming up as in the back.
Oh, we haven't done this yet.
Fell asleep.
The screen's asleep. Just gonna get it back on.
Thank you, Jim.
Yep. It's not on.
Not yet.
Not yet. Went to sleep.
I don't see the red light, Eric.
I used to have to stand on a chair. There it is.
Got it.
Okay, good evening, everybody. So happy to be here tonight to talk through the RICAS results with you all. It is popping up on the screen. So let's get into the objectives. I know you've had a chance to preview the slide deck. So tonight we'll talk about the impact of COVID on teaching and learning and assessment. Talk about the key takeaways. Do a data review. So talk about current and historical district data, grade level comparison, and state and district comparison as well. And then take a look at taking action, so what we're doing as a district to address the data, the new data that we got through our RICAS results. And then questions. And that should take us right up to about midnight. Just teasing. Okay. So as we know, COVID did have an impact on teaching and learning and assessment. And so the commissioner has been clear to say that this is a new baseline. So the results that you see tonight for us really represent a new baseline of data for math and ELA. COVID impacted most aspects of education. Learning disruptions were inevitable due to quarantines, illnesses that took place throughout the year. Students either missed time or had various forms of learning, such as in-person, virtual, or a hybrid, depending on if they were sick or quarantined. And Rhode Island administered the full assessment, one of the few states to actually do that. So administered the full assessment as is. And while fewer students took the test, Charahoe did an outstanding job of getting students in person to take the test, as we'll see in a moment. So this next slide really talks about the impact on the outcomes. So Rhode Island led the nation in bringing back students in person. Charahoe was a big part of that in terms of the numbers. So you can see where Charahoe brought back 70% of students in person, more than 75% of the time, doubling the state average. Likewise with students who missed or were in person less than 25% of the time, only 15% of our students fell into that category. 32, now it's important to note that in-person learning did have an impact on outcomes, as we're going to see in math and ELA. So in math, 32% of our students who were mostly in person were also proficient in RICAS versus 22% of students who were mostly virtual. In ELA, 51% of students who were mostly in person were proficient on RICAS ELA versus 42% of those who were virtual. So clearly being in person had an impact on those outcomes. Some of the key takeaways that the data shows us. Student performance declined across the state in both English, language arts, and mathematics, with the steepest decline in math. It's not only a district indicator, state, it's nationwide as well. These results, as we mentioned earlier, set a new baseline for us. Commissioner was quite clear about that. That means this is going to be our starting point moving forward. So in Charahoe and Rhode Island, we saw less of a decrease in scores than Massachusetts. I'll talk about why that's important in a moment. But we usually use Massachusetts as a benchmark. It's important to note that. Charahoe had the 5th highest participation rate in the state. I think that's significant. And it's a shout out to our educators, our building leaders, all of our teachers and staff to get kids in to take the test. You can see we outpaced the state by more than 10% in some cases. Ashaway ranked 8th out of 180 elementary schools in math. So Ashaway has been historically a school that has strong data in math, and they were able to maintain, that strength relative to the state average. So kudos to the teachers at Ashaway and Principal Scanapico. The percent of students with IEPs, so these are our students with individual education plans, students in special education, meeting or exceeding expectations in ELA remain the same. So we're going to see that a lot of our students drop, but our students with IEPs and ELA remain the same, and that's significant. Again, that's a shout out to our teachers who work with those students, their parents and families for being able to maintain those scores. Let's take a look at the data. So this is composite data for grades 3 through 8. So you can see we have the data here for 2018, 19, and 21. 20 was not a testing year. And you can see the impact of COVID. Again, while we were making some gains in ELA from 18 and 19, the impact of COVID is evident in terms of the scores and where they are. So we had more students falling in partially, less so in meeting, and maintained and exceeding if you go back to 2018. And in math, as we mentioned, math took a bigger hit, not only here in state, nationwide. And again, you can see those results. While we were able to maintain our data in 18 and 19, we did see our kids falling in meeting and increasing in partially. This is a composite for the grade level data, as we talked about. And this is just the composite for the students meeting and exceeding. I did add the state score there for 2021 as a comparison. So again, you can see where for ELA, which we've typically done very well, especially at the elementary level in grades 3 and 4, and in 5, you can see that again, COVID obviously had an impact where many of our students who may have been once meeting or exceeding are now moving back into partial. The good news here is that we did outpace the state, so our averages were better than the state, as they typically are. Same thing in mathematics, and again, math being that one where we've seen the hit across the nation. But again, our elementary schools are typically stronger here. We're just seeing that those scores dipping relative to the state. Now, I did mention earlier about Massachusetts and us typically using Massachusetts as a benchmark. So the data is here in terms of from not meeting to combination of meeting and exceeding. So typically Massachusetts, they've been doing this work for a very long time. Theirs is known as the MCAS, ours is the RICAS. Our model is based on the Massachusetts model for good reason. They've been doing this work, as I said, historically, prior to even Common Core being released. They've had a pretty rigorous assessment system, pretty rigorous curriculum reviews and implementation. And as such, they're a leader across our country in terms of achievement. And in fact, in many years, if they were their own country, they would be in the top 5 to 10 across the world. So that's why we typically look to Massachusetts and as a comparison, as a benchmark, because it is an indicator of our own growth. So you can see here in terms of meeting and exceeding, right on pace with Massachusetts, again above average than the average in Rhode Island. for English language arts. Same thing in mathematics, where we're just a little bit below. So we do outpace Rhode Island the average, and right there with Massachusetts. Some good news here is that like our partially meeting students, we do have like a high percentage there. But really what that tells us is that, that's the group that's really ready to move. And especially with, as we'll talk about what our next steps are, that's a big part of our work moving forward in mathematics. So taking action, this first set of action steps is really focused on leadership. So there's really a concerted effort. As you can see here, conducting learning walks. We were at one today at Cala. We were at Richmond last week. We've done the elementary schools. Facilitating data chats with school leaders. It's important. The data really tells us where we need to move, where we need to act. So it's important for our school leaders to be aware and be able to talk through it. Monthly meetings with school leaders. We have one in the morning with our elementary principals with a focus on instructional leadership. And then using multiple sources of data to understand student needs. This is the whole concept of becoming like data literate, like understanding the data with the idea of how do you use it to shift instruction to then shift student achievement.
Michael?
Yes.
It's me. Could you just explain a little bit about what I don't know if you want to wait till after, but now that we're in it, what a learning walk is? Maybe that would be
Oh, sure. Sorry.
something that
Yep.
people might want to know what that.
Yeah, great question. So a learning walk is, how we've been doing them this first round is myself, Superintendent Picard, the principals will meet at one of the elementary schools. Our focus for these first round of walks is on grade 3 English language arts. As you know, we have a curriculum implementation this year for ELA. And so we'll visit the ELA grade 3 classrooms with a focus on what the instruction looks like, both from the student end, the teacher end, and then the classroom environment. So just kind of like making observations. We'll then go back, meet and debrief the visit. And really, we're just pointing out like, what did we see in terms of what were those areas of success were? What are opportunities for growth? What kind of feedback can we give the school to help it grow? And those are really what a learning walk is.
Thank you.
Okay. This next piece, we have an ELA fellow who is providing embedded coaching and support to classroom teachers. This is, again, part of the ELA implementation for the curriculum resources. Educators, our teachers, are using new curricular resources and revised curriculum to strengthen core instruction. If one of the things that the research has shown in the past 18 months is one positive way to overcome any type of learning loss and to strengthen gains is to really focus on that core instruction. And by core instruction, we mean that everyday teaching that teachers are doing and that everyday learning to standard that students are getting. So just focusing on that, maintaining that, and strengthening that, and that's really one of the best ways to mitigate some of the data. Provide professional development around these curriculum resources, so in math and ELA as part of the implementation. Purchase and implement new high school math curriculum resources. So that's for the next school year. So this year we have a K-8 implementation in math. Next year we'll finish that, close the loop, so to speak, with a 9-12. And finally, these next 3 items, they're in the planning stage right now, and we'll be using our ESSER funds, elementary and secondary school emergency relief to support these initiatives. So increase tutoring opportunities for students. So even though we want to have a strong focus on that everyday instruction that kids are getting, it's also important to provide before and after school opportunities for student learning as well. Build capacity in math to support curriculum implementation and provide instructional coaching. So the whole idea of building capacity is that once these funds are gone, our teachers still have those ability, the skills to carry the work forward. Same thing with social emotional supports around mental health needs. That is it.
Thank
I'll
you.
take questions at this time.
Lisa?
Thank you
Sure.
so very much. If we can return to the conversation around core instruction, different families are reporting that different amounts of home instruction, homework is coming.
Okay.
Can you speak a little bit to what the role of homework is in trying to kind of ameliorate some of those gaps? And do we have an approach to that? Is it based on those formative assessments that you're taking on students? Is it more individualized? If you can explain that for me and for some of the families, that would
Sure.
be
The
awesome.
homework itself? Yeah.
What our approach to homework
Yeah.
is as a district.
Mhm.
And then if there are variations, some families feeling like, wow, there's so much homework coming
Right.
home, and others are feeling like, how come my kid doesn't have homework? If you could speak to that a little
Sure,
bit.
sure. I think it does vary. So I think you're right. I think homework, is largely dependent on, where the instruction is on that day, teacher choice, what they choose to do or to give at that point or not, and where they are at it. So for example, I was at the middle school on Monday and saw a homework assignment, which I thought was really great. It was a list of problems that made me a little nervous because sometimes the whole point of homework sometimes is to go home and have kids succeed on what they're doing, not go home and have kids like do the same problem 20 times wrong, right? And they're not getting support. But the way that and it was comes from one of our resources where the problems were at the top and the answers were at the bottom. But students didn't, they weren't assigned to a problem, but they had the answers there. So they knew if they got one right, they could see it at the bottom. If they got one wrong, the answer wasn't there. So at least it gave them some opportunities. So when they came back, they knew they were doing it the right way, the correct method. So it does vary by teacher. There is, choice in terms of how much homework they're giving, what kind of homework, the quality.
And so the district approach then, I think I heard you say, is that the homework is meant to give the students opportunities to succeed at home.
To practice.
Right,
and get
so
better.
practice.
Yep.
So it's not meant to be instructional at that point.
No, it
is-
shouldn't. And there
is
shouldn't
for
be any
success.
instruction outside of that.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
You bet.
Ms. McAllister, and then
Just
Mr.
to
Day.
add, I don't know if you can hear me or not. Just to add to the homework piece, do we have any constraints on how much homework can be given per grade level? Or is there anything like that in our
There is some guidelines in the handbook, like around middle school and high school, there's guidance, but it is, teachers do have some autonomy with how they work that, but typically, what Dr. Mello said is, you really gotta be mindful, our goal is to make sure the students are working really hard during the day, and that there's a few ideas where they can practice, take some things home to continue to work on, but the opportunities in homework will depend sometimes on the need of a student, and the practice that's necessary.
And then I would say, like, typically, although it's not, I don't believe it's guidance that we put in, guidance like nationally, say like 10 minutes, depending on what your grade level is. So if it's grade 1, it's 10 minutes, grade 2, 20 minutes,
Right.
et cetera.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Day and then Mr. Luzon.
Yes. First, I want to say that I think Gina, along with both of our unions here at Charo, did a fantastic job of keeping the school district in-person learning.
Yes.
The concern I kind of have with this thing here is this was put together by the state of Rhode Island, right? So
Which
No.
part? Mr.
This-
Day? I did.
you put this together? Well, all right, I guess it says 85% of students were in person more than 75% of the school days. And then for Charahoe, it was 75% of the time. What is the difference between school days and time?
It's a good question. So that was, we did that based on the state benchmark. So the state, so that we could compare, chose that 75% number, which represented, if you were in school 180 days, 135 of those days. So 75% of the school year was 135. I believe 133 for Charahoe.
133.
Yeah. Okay.
But just to clarify, if you all remember, the elementary schools, actually, I think it was K to 5, had to be in every day. No district had the option not to do that. So you're going to see higher attendance. So what you look at is the days of attendance that the students had opportunity to come to school. So some may have had the opportunity, but on a quarantine or concerns may not have been in school. So there was more opportunity as elementary because no one was allowed to remove days for K to 5. Just so a point of clarification, we had more flexibility with days when you had upper level middle school and high school. We kept it in every day, but some districts did not.
Right. So some districts across the state did like a hybrid model for older kids where they were in every other day, or they did concurrent learning like we did here. Like there were a variety of forms.
And
So
some
that's why it's kind of hard the way to compare is to really do it on like a percentage of the number of days in school.
And some had shortened days, they shortened the time.
So they were playing games with with numbers, right, basically.
No, I would say they're playing games. I think they're trying to be mindful of like what actual time looks like based on the in-person learning attendance. But
Well-
there's some variety because there was no really control districts. You know, you couldn't control a child in quarantine. There's a lot of things out of control. So it was sort of their best effort at being thoughtful about what that time really would look like.
All right, well, it kind of gets me back to my thinking is that we were, one of how many schools that had in-person learning full-time all year long? And I think this is something that should have been.
One of a few.
Should have been, I think what number it was, I think we should have bought an ad in a newspaper if we had to turn around and let the taxpayers of this community know what we did compared to some of these other school districts. I think that should have been an ad on TV or whatever to let people know that, we are a school district down here, and some people think, we can't spell backwards unless we give us all of the letters in order. That they need to know that, we exceeded and excelled, and I'm not being critical of your report, but I just think that, the job that was done by the staff and the superintendent and everybody else, it never got out to the community. And I don't really give a damn what Massachusetts did. I don't give a damn that we're better than Massachusetts. We still had a lot of things that were working against us. So, I mean, I appreciate the report, but I would like to know how many school districts had full-time learning and how we compared to those districts that had full-time learning as opposed to the state of Rhode Island. Because, if we were that good and are that good, we should be putting that out there.
I think,
I'm not trying to,
to your point.
criticize what you're doing, but
Yeah.
I've always maintained that we don't get the respect anywhere in the state of Rhode Island that we deserve, and sometimes we don't do a very good job of selling ourselves.
No, I think we thought about comparing. It's just that I think to superintendent's point, K-5, everybody was in full-time. It gets tricky, like once you get into secondary, because there were so many different options. And so it gets a little tricky to be able to compare. I think that's why the state decided on that 75%
And
number.
there's no database, so it really is like word of mouth or talking. So for an easy example, anecdotal. There are districts that ended at 1:00 early when they were high school, middle school. There were some that had all DL days, so it's still a day of learning, but it's not an in-person learning. So it's the definition that districts chose to use sometimes, so it makes it complicated to sort of find those districts. But for K-5, we should have been all pretty much equal because it was required by the state to have in-person learning for K-5. Parents had the choice to opt for DL, but you had to offer in-person every day K-5.
Mr. Luzon, you had a comment, and then Donna.
Just to continue on real quick with what Bill was saying, Bill, just wait for B1 on reports, and then we can really toot our own horn with that one. So with that being stated, on taking action, I mentioned at the last meeting, I'll mention again tonight. I'm concerned going forward. I realize that the second two, we're going to use ESSA funds to teach our teachers. But the first one, for example, increased tutoring. How long do we need to do that for? Which we'll find out when it starts happening. But how long are those funds going to be around for? And if they're only good for a year or two, then are we going to have to budget to continue on anything with ESSER funds?
Yeah.
Which is why the better strategy is what we talked at the beginning. It's the core curriculum is not a remediation. You don't remediate a number of students who've had this sort of gap. But what we know is when we put them in a classroom every day and give them everyday instruction, many of those students that fell into that partial are going to grow. It's based on the nature of the way that teachers are designing their lessons, design the curriculum. What research tells you is now you have, the nice thing is we've already had that plan moving forward. And even some of our teachers asked, why would we do implementation of new resources, coming off this pandemic? Because it's exactly what our kids need. And it's okay for there to be bumps. Module 1 for ELA, that first unit is going to be bumpy, and unit 2 is going to be better than unit 1, and then unit 3 is going to be better than unit 2, because they're learning too how to utilize the new resource. They know how to teach. That's not the issue. It's now we've leveled the playing field. So whether you're at Ashaway or Richmond or Charlestown, it doesn't matter. You're at Hope Valley, you're going to have access to the same resources and the same benchmark of instruction. We're looking at the same assessments. So now we can really think about our instruction across the entire regional district to say, okay, what's going well? How are you doing it? Here's the success I've had. Here's my learning opportunity. Here's where my challenges are. And we utilize sort of our professional development, the coaches that come in. We were just at Hope Valley today. They had some coaching with the teachers with mathematics. It's to sort of build that level of capacity. And what we know with ESSER funding, it's until 2024. Our biggest lift is going to be to build the capacity so that, and Carrie Pastore, I'll give Carrie a shout out. She's been doing a great job with her ELA. And with one thing the teachers say to me is, you need the same thing in math, which is the goal for our ESSER fund. Because by building that capacity, you're going to put the work and give the teachers, that work together to be able to really access all the supports to do right by students using the data. So it's going to go away, but if we do this correctly and we implement the coaching, peer-to-peer support that is designed to take action, is going to make sure we're ready when the funding is gone. So there's not a continuous need. But ESSER and the state plan does require, and our community survey was very clear, parents want learning supports. That was the number one priority from our survey. That's summer opportunities, after-school opportunities to enhance, and it doesn't necessarily have to be just tutoring, but to enhance the level of instruction. But we do have to target on our students who have the most significant need. As a district, the most significant need right now is our middle school.
And this is on top of what schools already do. So once in 2024, when this goes away, tutoring doesn't go away. This is on top of what they already provide.
Thank you.
Ms. Chambers?
Yeah, this was great. Thank you for presenting this. I'm very proud of our numbers. I've watched this district grow, and I want to acknowledge that this district was one of the first in the states to put computers in the hands of kids. And not only that, long before the pandemic, not only that, we had a rigorous professional development program to groom the teachers on how to use the technology and integrate it with the classroom face-to-face. So I think when the pandemic came along, we were ready for it. And I think the results of this assessment are showing that. This is not something that just happened as a result of COVID. This was long ongoing in our efforts to provide the best learning opportunities and resources, to piggyback on what Gina's saying, for the teachers and the students. So I'm very proud of this. Thank you.
No, you should be. I think within some of our learning walks that we've seen, with the technology savvy that our teachers have, we're already seeing them utilize that knowledge that they have and improving, the implementation as a result.
And it's not just teaching with computers, it's using the computers as a tool to focus on the students' learning and independence in learning. So thank you.
And Donis, and then Karen.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo the sentiment for the appreciation for the presentation of the data in an accessible way that's really helpful for us. I'd just like to comment on something that I'm seeing emerge in the conversations that you have with those committee members, and that is, in these interventions, they are interrelated with one another. So oftentimes you will see, we have increasing tutoring opportunities for students, but if the capacity is being built adequately, then that will help to take that place when the ESSER funding is no longer there. So I really want to point out kind of the interrelated nature of the interventions and highlight that, and just congratulate you for thinking in that way.
And to the superintendent, appreciate that. And the superintendent's point, if we're doing that everyday instruction well, and we get better at that, we're going to see less of a need for the tutor.
Good. Thank you. Karen, you have the floor.
Thanks for the data. I just want to take a moment and thank all of the kids who took these tests. These tests are extremely daunting. They're overwhelming. And our kids sit for anywhere from 60 to 90 to 120 minutes working on a computer screen. So our scores are fabulous when you look at
everything that they did last year in the middle of a pandemic. And thank you to the teachers and the administration for making this happen.
Thank you, Karen. Sure, sure. Yeah. Oh, could you introduce yourself and, yeah, come on. Yeah.
I mean, it might be easier if he stands.
Okay, that's fine.
On the bar chart, with all the grades, math, ELA, I don't think it matters, math, science is fine. If a student is in the 8th grade in 20, and they are represented by the 2021 test, they took a test as a 5th grader in 2018. Am I reading the bar chart correctly? Like, how do I follow the cohort, basically?
Yeah, it's not really, you can follow the cohort for some grade levels. It wasn't built for that reason, but you can follow. So for example, if you look at the 8th grade, you would just count back. Well, really, I don't know if you can.
Yeah,
you
not from
can't
this
because of the
chart,
year
not from this
disrupt
chart.
without having the 2020 data, it kind of disrupts it. But you're talking about like a cohort. So like if you took the test in grade 5, what were your scores then compared to when you took it post-pandemic?
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the question is I want to understand when you say this is the new benchmark.
Yeah.
And so for 3rd graders or younger children who have never, this was maybe their first assessment, that to me, and saying this is our new benchmark for them, that translates differently to me than looking at an 8th grade population and saying this is their new benchmark, where we know where they were in proficiency from a prior test, pre-pandemic test. And what I worry is if a population is, the 8th graders are at 23%, if I'm reading it in math, and say, okay, we get to 30 for our 8th graders or 30 for that cohort. We follow their proficiency and they get to 30, and we say, great, they're above 23 because that's our quote new benchmark. And I hear where the new benchmark language is coming from. That is still a drop from those students' pre-pandemic capabilities.
Possibly.
Could be.
I think the other way to think about it too is it's going to take time to recoup that, right? So if you think, we talk a lot about our 2nd graders for a reason. Like, so when the pandemic started, they were in kindergarten, right? So then, they after March 13th in 2020, they really didn't have that, like they were back, but it wasn't the same, right? You'll acknowledge that. So now they have 2nd grade, right? And that's for there's a lot of foundational learning between K and 2. So I think it's the same. I think there's been, in order for us to recoup it, it's not going to just happen like in 1 year or 2. It's going to take some time. Yeah.
But to your
Oh,
point, the teachers have access to the 8th grade data, which they're now our 9th graders, right? So there are 9th graders, which we all know is one of the highest level of transitions. So we're providing target supports for transitions as well, the 5th, the 9th, which we have here. But we'll look at their growth, to your point. So those that have taken the assessment and have taken other assessments, we're looking sort of at that, what are those different data points tell us? And what we saw, which was really promising, is when we did our beginning of the year assessments, many students, even those that fell into that partially, had most of the skills necessary to be able to be proficient moving forward. So it really was about making sure that we're really thoughtful about the level of instruction so that we're targeting the right areas, because in a resource, you could do many, 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 many things. But when you use the data to really be thoughtful about it, we can target the specific needs of every student based on that data. So we're building the capacity, even with the admins and the teachers, to really know how to look at their data, make plans, and then move to growth. So we should see cohort to cohort. To your point, that we call that like a change chart. What's the difference from my, when I was in 7th to 8th, did I grow? Because I can be proficient but never grow. So that's where we want to make sure we do both.
Right. I think you're looking at, we've always watched the data over the course of middle school and high school, sometimes slip, we find check, it doesn't get easier as you go K to 12. And so trying to distinguish between what is pandemic numbers, what is just natural transition numbers, and I hear you saying, we're not doing remediation, but nobody can just lock it down and say we're going to close the gap right now through remediation effort. I appreciate that it's going to take time, but between, I just wanted to make sure that when we're looking at the numbers year after year, 4 for a set group of students where we have pre-pandemic results, their new benchmark is not, like, if those students can get back up to the proficiency levels they've established before and then surpass that, that's to me a new benchmark.
Agree.
Not just a percentage point or two above a pandemic benchmark. I mean, I don't think anybody in our lives now want the pandemic benchmark for time at home, number of dogs you've taken in, whatever. Those are not benchmarks for anything. But, you know, I appreciate that. I just wanted to kind of understand the bar chart and kind of piece together this movement.
No, you actually make a great point. I think, to what the superintendent spoke about, like one of the things that we don't have access to this year in the data is the growth data, because you need 2 consecutive years to have growth data. So one of the things that, we don't have access that we typically would be growth, and that would tell us something else about the data.
And that's because that 2020 year is missing.
Yes, sir. Got a question?
Mike Warman from Hopkinton. I actually got I want to echo a couple of points that Mr. Day actually made one of my points already. I'm not interested in how Charter compares to Rhode Island. I'm more interested in how does Charter compare to those highest performing districts. I'm not interested in comparing us to provinces, the Central Falls, and I don't know if you name them all, but the districts that are going to make up the largest proportion. I want us to challenge ourselves to compare ourselves and hold ourselves accountable to the highest performing districts. My second point is I was actually going to take this on this table, so if you don't mind keeping the slide up here, because I'm going to talk about one of my children that's represented. So in 2018, which is blue, one of my children was in 3rd grade. So he was part of the group that was 49% meeting or exceeding. In 4th grade, which is represented by orange, their class grew to 69%. We're going to skip grade 5 because we weren't assessed, but now we go to grade 6 in 2021, and they're represented by the 19, which is gray. So that right there is demonstration of a significant drop. That's a 50 percentage point drop from meeting to exceeding. I understand that this takes time, but my kid doesn't have that time. Like, he can't wait 2-3 years to make up this lost time. And I get that this is a challenge that we have because next year he's going to be in 7th grade and then 8th grade. And the expectations there grow. And to your point.
Right, those kids will get him.
Sorry. Was your question?
No, I'm sorry, sir.
No, it's okay. So that's what I want folks to acknowledge is that there are groups, particularly at the middle school, that have a significant drop. And I think we've got to look at where where those largest drops occur, and then focus the attention, the ESSER 2, the ESSER 3 money in those areas, in whichever way, whether it's in school additional help and resources, after school, summer. I get COVID burnout. I get it's tough to get folks in to do this stuff, but I think every effort has to be made to close the gap for these kids that have shown the potential. In grade 4 in 2019, almost 3/4 of them were meeting or exceeding, now to less than 20%. So that's my concern there. And then finally, to a point that I've made before, you're second hearing me, we all, I think many of you acknowledge the in-school, in-person learning is best. Next year, when you're working on your calendar, I'll once again beg you, we've lost 4 days this year through the professional development. Our kids have lost 4 days, which is almost a week of school. We've got the monthly early release days. I just beg you, please keep our kids in school as much as possible. When it comes to school closures for weather-related events, I do not envy your position. That storm came in at the worst possible time, 6 a.m. when buses were rolling out. Despite what we said earlier, that was a tough call, and I would not have wanted to be in your seat for that. I appreciate the fact that that was a no school day and not an asynchronous learning day, because as we've seen here, our kids need to be in front of our teachers to make these steps.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very well. Thank you, Dr. Oh, we have someone.
I don't know if you can answer. I don't know if you can answer this or not.
That's a large drop, as it just pointed out in most math numbers in one year. And I think you said that there was a large drop nationwide in the math score. Do we have any understanding of why? I'm a math geek, so that's what I do. And I went to
Do you want to be a math teacher? We're looking for them.
Phenomenal. And I can equate what I do now for a living to them for my level of math. So the national score in math, what changed? What happened? Do we know anything about that? And I do have a follow-up for too. Why is Ashaway historically much better performing than the rest of the district? What are they doing that maybe we can leverage in other schools within the district to bring those schools up?
So one of the things that, in talking to Principal Scanapiego, is that we've been using the current resource that we have right now, but it hasn't been like used, I would say, like it's been as a supplement, teacher choice to kind of build it in. So now we're using it more with Fidelity. So it's an everyday process. All the teachers are doing it. I don't know how long ago, but several years ago, Principal Scanapiego made a decision at his school that they were going to use that resource that we're using now with Fidelity and every day. And did we do a deep enough look into, is that the main reason? Well, it's one of the reasons for sure. It's also, you can also point to the level of teaching and the teachers themselves and the planning. All of that goes into, but I think one of the nice things now about bringing that resource system wide is we have a school where we've seen success with it. And now, we know that it works. So it's just a matter of now providing that professional development, growing our teachers. Superintendent said we have PD going on at Hope Valley today. The other 3 elementaries, specifically embedded coaching, where there's a coach with the teacher in the class, providing them on the ground feedback. So that's our plan to get that.
What is that resource? I'm sorry.
I would only be speculating. As a math teacher myself, I would say, in watching it, it's hard to teach math virtually. There's whiteboards involved. There's, it's hard to give student feedback if they're not on the screen, or, it's hard, I would say. So if some students were virtual, you could see the comparison, in those scores. So it's difficult, but I'm only speculating.
And just to be fully transparent, pre-pandemic, the district's math scores were an area of need.
Yeah.
Like when I came in with that data, that was an area of focus. So that's why the review, and to Dr. Kamel's point, Principal Scanapiego, talked a lot about sort of with his teachers about sticking to the fidelity of the resource because it's a vetted, high-quality resource. So as you start to bring things in, sometimes, things can get away from you. So while you may be a good practice, for some, it may not work for all, where the resources that are built, they're built for that. They're built to scaffold those to really go further and faster if they need to remediate those that need more remediation. But it provides that level of that resource that allows the teachers not to have to worry about pulling. So he's definitely been someone who's we've tapped into. And one of the reasons why I do believe he's our STEM lead for the elementary schools as well. So he has a very good input, and his teachers have done, those data dives with their resources and really looked at those assessments and have seen an easier implementation because they've been using. There's a few new pieces to the revised curriculum, but they're a little bit more savvy with the resource because they've been doing this for a while.
Ma'am in the back, do you have a comment?
My son was in 3rd grade last year, before I passed for the first time. I don't know individually how he did, but Hope Valley did very poorly. And he's actually very, very smart in that. And I remember that week him telling me his biggest struggle was that he didn't know how to take a test on his phone. And I brought this up last night, and not that I'm happy with it, but I understand the answer that Hope Valley wasn't utilizing the iWriting like Ashley was. And because I know my son is very good at math, but he never taken tests like that at that level for testing that long, on a Chromebook. And I think that's where he struggled, and probably where his Apple struggled. Parent, so plate now that all the schools are utilizing already. You know,
Ms. Macruso?
Chair, just as a concluding thought, I just really want to, compliment, right, our community, and also point out for you, Chair, thank you, how the agenda really can and is supporting this topic.
Right.
So I've taken copious notes on some of your recommendations. This is a real dialogue, and this is where it can happen, is on an agenda item.
Yes.
So Chair, I want to acknowledge you're allowing as much time as necessary.
I'm very
And
interested.
our community is incredibly
Yes.
well informed and giving us great input. So compliments to all of us, taking a moment to be together and coming together on this report. So
Yes.
I
Thank
wanted
you,
us
Ms.
to all just
Macruso.
take a moment to take that in.
Yes. Thank you. I think, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the next item is assignments to subcommittees, school improvement and school safety teams. There are vacancies that are indicated in red. This is also an opportunity if you wish to change representation on school improvement and school safety teams if you prefer.
Yes, Mr.
So
Luzon.
I just want to bring up a subject. We have too many members.
I
tonight.
know, they should get first choice.
Feel free.
Or-
We have to nominate you, so let us know what you want to do.
And also too, if there's a, you know, you can go, there are vacancies, but if you'd like to be on another committee, I think that can be adjusted to. So we do have an opening on the finance committee, and we have a Charlestown and Hopkinton representative. So if a Richmond person would like to join us, that would be great. Yeah, it's just one meeting.
Just one meeting?
Just one. It's just one meeting. We meet just
Right before the
right
omnibus.
before the omnibus, and we meet for like 30 minutes.
Okay.
So Karen's gonna do it.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I make a motion to nominate Karen Reynolds to the
Finance.
Richmond seat on the Finance Committee.
We've had a motion and a second to appoint Karen to the Finance Committee. Any discussion? No. Those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you very much.
Very popular.
Yes. Okay. And we have two, school improvement teams. Does anyone want to?
But this is is this just for selection committee, Donna, or is this other to sit on the team? This is part of it. When this usually happens around April.
Right. It's just one. It's what one meeting.
One or
selection?
two, depending.
One or two.
One or
The
two,
vacancies.
depending selection committee meetings. Yes.
I volunteered to take Richmond.
You volunteer to take Richmond?
So can I do a dual motion?
Sure.
And then Donna Spears for Ashway and Karen Reynolds for Richmond.
Second.
Okay, so we've had a motion and a second to recommend and appoint Adonis to Ashaway and Karen to Richmond School as on the selection committee, the SIC selection committee. Any discussion? Those in favor? Great, unanimous. Thank you so much. We have a full slate. Just
Madam Chair?
yes, Mr. Day.
I just want to mention that top of the page here, there's a threat assessment oversight committee, which is called the district safety team, and it lists four persons associated with the school district. It also includes the police chief, fire chief, and an EMA director. And we've never had a meeting of this group. And this law has been in effect for 2 years now. So this committee has never met.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Chairman, it's an annual, and if there's a threat assessment, so I can ensure that happens.
Thank you for that, Mr. Day. Yes, Mr. Luzon.
And so carrying on with what Bill was talking about, how long what would be our policy or our expectations? How long would a committee stay dormant before we address whether,
I'd have to go.
such as chair? Callahan, the facilities subcommittee, as an example.
I
Just-
wish I
just
could
bringing up
answer
a point.
yeah, no, I know. I wish I could answer that.
So maybe a future agenda item.
Yeah, let's put it down. Yeah, I guess we're good. Thank you, Mr. Luzon.
So the next item on the agenda is a memorandum of agreement between the Charahoe Regional School District and Charahoe Education Support Professionals pertaining to custodial overtime, Article 7.1 and 7.5. I recommend approval of the MOA, which has been reviewed by legal counsel and NEA ESP, and the MOA is attached.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to accept the MOA, the memorandum of agreement between the Charahoe Regional School District and Charahoe ESP pertaining to custodial overtime. Any discussion? Does anyone want to explain what it is? Or should we explain? Do we have to? No? Okay. No? Anybody have questions? No? Okay. I'll take it to a vote. Those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Is it, I know you talked, I assume you talked about it in the executive session. Is it public? It's not in the packet. I assume that's because executive session, or is it not public because it's contract?
It will be public once they approve it. The minutes got sealed until an agreement has been reached. So once they approve it, it'll be on the website tomorrow morning. Okay?
That's good information. Thank you. Thank you. Good question. Okay, so we'll go back to the vote. Oh, any more questions? No? Okay, those in favor? Okay. Any opposed? We got 2 oppositions. Abstentions? Recusals?
I don't have to, but I'm recusing.
You're going to recuse. Okay. Thank you. So we are done, Mr. Day and Mr. Abbott. Okay, so moving on to consent agenda items. Is there anything that needs to be pulled?
A1 and 2?
A1 and A2. Anything else for discussion that you'd like pulled? Mr. Day?
I just had one question on
Sure.
H2,
H2.
the window.
Okay, well, we'll pull it and then we can have a discussion. Oh, yes. We need to pull. Oh,
Just a question.
Donna, is the question okay? Do we need to? Yeah, okay, question.
It is clarifying questions or items to be pulled.
Thank you. Clarifying questions. Mr. Day, you have a question.
Well, and there's a memo here about select window replacement, central administration building. And I have no idea whose Kathy's office is, which windows we're gonna put in that. And I don't know everybody's first name in the administration building, and just Kathy's office, 2
So-
windows.
The offices, the admin building, it's basically it's COVID, those that don't have any windows. So it's to open up the air of opportunities in those offices that were enclosed with no windows in the admin office, as well as the skylights over at the middle school. So it's.
But I still don't know, who, whether it's.
So they're not numbered like the schools. I can't think of the number, Don. It is numbered by
It's
letter.
the office that you look at right when you come in the door.
Right
So
across from,
that's the office,
right where Ned's office
the
is.
Ned's office is secretary. Well, okay. Makes sense, but.
Is that it?
I think, yeah.
So if they do get windows, do those windows need to be numbered?
No, I just.
No, I'm thinking maybe a
I-
map next time of like which window in the admin
Could
building.
have, to me, if it would have been, the administrator's secretary's office for Ned,
Just
I wouldn't have to
use
answer that
the
question.
position title. Not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, make a motion to move the remainder.
There's been a motion to remove the remainder of the consent. Yep, and a second. Thank you, Dr. Callahan. There's been a motion, a second to approve the consent agenda items. Those in favor? Thank you. Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
at this time, I make a motion to approve A1 executive session minutes of October 26, 2021. Approval of executive session minutes of August 10th, 2021. Minutes not sealed.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to accept the executive session minutes of October 26, 2021. Approval of executive session minutes of August 10th, 2021. Minutes not sealed. Any discussion on those minutes? No? Those in favor of the minutes?
You know what, that should probably be September 10th, I'm sorry.
Okay,
That
there's
should be,
Sep-
that's just in your notes. It should be
Okay.
September 10th.
It should be in September 10th, not August 10th. So we're making that correction. That's okay. So that's all right. Those in favor? Thank you. Those opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? Mr. Abbott's abstention. Okay,
Madam Chair,
number 2.
I
Sorry.
make a motion to approve two regular session minutes of October 26th, 2021.
Second.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second to accept the regular session minutes of October 26, 2021. Any discussion on those minutes? No? Those in favor? Thank you. That was unanimous. Thank you. Okay. On to reports. Thank you.
At this time, there are no subcommittee reports. We do have the U.S. News and World Report rankings that came in. We take great pride in reporting that our district elementary schools ranked well in the first ever U.S. News and World Report K-8 rankings out of 180 elementary schools in Rhode Island. Ashaway ranked 6th, which is the top 5%. Charleston ranked 7th, which is the top 5%. Hope Valley ranked 10th, which is the top 10%, and Richmond ranked 27th, which is the top 25%.
Wow.
And our middle school ranked 14th out of 66, which is in the top 25%. We continue to be proud of the work of our teachers, students, administrators, and staff.
Yes. And parents. And our families.
So we also have our text messaging option opt-in. Some of you may have gotten a text. If you did not already opt in, you were provided an additional opportunity today to opt in. If you did not opt in, you will not receive text messages. So families and staff that want to be a part of the text messaging will need to opt in. You can still do that. Any family can choose if they haven't done it yet. In our superintendent's e-update, the directions are noted in there. We have sent a few emails out over the past few weeks providing the same directions. And then we sent out a text today that School Messenger actually sends out to give another opportunity to hit yes to do that. And it's just another way to be able to message parents. But this would be more for those emergency situations, maybe a bus is running late, things like that. So it's a very quick, and it wouldn't be like for attendance and things like that. We don't want people to opt out. So it really is for those quick emergency needs, like a bus running late or an accident, as an example. And then the vaccination clinic, we are hosting the 5 to 11 vaccination clinic at Charahoe Middle School on Friday, November 12th, starting at 3 p.m. A link was shared with our families and is available to the public at vaccinateri.org. By early Monday morning, we had all 300 spots taken up. I had a few parents reach out looking for additional. I explained that the Rhode Island Disaster Management Agency was leading that with RIDO, so we didn't have really say over that. So I said that I would reach out and call. I spoke with RIDO. They said that they would increase it to 120 more spots for Friday, and those appointments are still available and going, which is nice that we could do that for our families. And again, we are the host site, but it's run by the Rhode Island Disaster Management Agency in partner with RIDO. And our upcoming events, we have November 12th, secondary end of grading period for the first quarter. November 15th, high school winter sports meeting in the middle school auditorium at 7 p.m. On November 17th, we have our early release day. Secondary will be dismissed at 12:45, elementary at 1:55. November 18th, high school picture retake and makeup day. November 24th, there's a no school for students and school year staff. November 25th and 26th, there's no school for students or staff. December 3rd, elementary end of grading period for the first trimester. December 6th, Hope Valley School PTO meeting at 6:30 p.m. December 8th, early release day, secondary dismissed again at 12:45, elementary at 1:55, and our Ashaway School Holiday Bazaar is on December 11th.
Nice. Okay, so now we're at the time, school committee requests for future agenda items or legal opinions. Do we have any requests? Okay, we have two, Mr. Day and then Mr. Luzon. Mr. Day.
Oh, yes, I'd like to have a report for the next meeting on the SAF activities in the account.
Oh, we haven't looked at that. Okay. Okay, thank you. Mr. Luzon.
Yeah, I got 3 requests. Well, I usually go a couple months without asking for anything. Now I got 3. I had the luxury 2 weeks ago reading the 5-cent cigar, and in it they were talking about where they had this big meeting and talking to people about mental awareness. And I know we have to do so many hours per year, so it wouldn't hurt to have a presentation given to us. My next request is subcommittees.
Mhm.
How long should they remain dormant? I mean, it's up to us. We determine that.
Yes.
So how long should they remain dormant before we say we don't need that subcommittee? Or I know sometimes it's required. We can discuss that when it's on the agenda.
Okay.
And my last request is the taxpayers today brought to our attention that we took them out of the process on one of our policies. But we do have an appeals policy here. Could we have that on the next agenda? We could discuss how we can fine tune it to meet the needs of all the taxpayers also.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Greg, your first one was a presentation on mental health. Is that what you were looking for?
Mental health and awareness.
Yeah,
And
just,
awareness?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
and I'm assuming Mr. Legori will probably have some contacts to steer us in the right direction.
Maybe- And Lisa too. I think and Lisa too. And
Mr. Harrington.
Mr. Harrington. Okay.
Are
And then,
we-
and then the
is that
sub, yeah, wait a minute, and you got the Donna, the subcommittee on the, okay, yep, Donna has it. Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
So, Madam Chair,
Yes,
at this time, I make a motion to adjourn.
Thanks.
there's been a motion, there's a motion and a second to adjourn. Those in favor? Thank you. I guess George didn't vote. No. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.